All right. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to our Accepted Student webinar with Colorado School of Mines. My name is Luke Contreras. I'm one of the directors of admissions here in the Office of Admissions at Mines. We are so excited and thankful to have you all here today to join us for our webinar. I don't know about you all, but it's probably pretty crazy to think that it is April of your senior year of high school. And before we begin and get into the meat of our event today, on behalf of our entire office and on behalf of our entire university, congratulations on being accepted as a Mines student. It is a big choice picking your college and university, and it is one of those where you probably have a lot of options, and it's probably crazy to think that May 1, which is the national decision day, is not too far from on the calendar. It is next Friday, but we are excited to have you here, and congratulations. Now, the goal of today is to give you an awesome opportunity to get a lot of questions answered and to familiarize yourself and continue to familiarize yourself why this place is so great and why you would be an amazing student at our university. And so we are going to be joined by a campus guest that we're excited to have him here because he is a staple to our community. And just how tonight is going to work is we are going to get get our guest here, have them introduce themselves, and then it really is you getting to ask questions to get them answered. We do have several admissions staff members as well as a couple of our student ambassadors answering questions in the Q&A. If you do have questions about some of the technical things like housing or financial aid, we did do webinars earlier in the semester about those topics. And we do have some publications that we can put into the chat. But I will admit some of the questions for housing and financial aid might be very specific to you. So we do encourage you to reach out to those offices directly. The housing office as housing@mines.edu, that is their email address. And then our financial aid office is FinAid, FINAIDE at mines.edu. And so those offices are going to be great resources as you kind of go through, some of those more technical questions, because we also recognize you might have some questions that are specific to you, and might need specific uh, some specific things covered. But yeah, so to kind of start off, we do have two students on our panel today, and I'm going to ask them to take their camera um, off, and if they're able to answer some questions to talk about their experience. So Ryan and Zach Wolf, are you all available to take some questions about the student experience?
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds great.
Awesome. So what's going to happen is I'm going to have Ryan and Zach each introduce themselves. Ryan and Zach are campus student ambassadors at Mines. They're going to they're going to introduce themselves to they're going to introduce themselves, but yeah, their name, their major, and where they're from, and what year in school they are. So I'm going to have Ryan start, and then I'm going to have Zach introduce himself after Ryan.
Cool. Okay. Well, hey, everyone. My name is Ryan. Here at Mines, I'm in my fourth year, so I'm actually a graduating senior in about a week and a half here, which is pretty exciting. I am a senior in biochemistry, so very familiar with all our kind of more chemistry-related degrees, and I'm originally from Conifer, Colorado, so I'm an in-state student here.
And Zach, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course. So my name's Zach Wolf. I'm a second year mechanical engineering student here at Mines, and I have a track in aerospace. So I still got a couple more years to go before I'm reaching that graduation point like Ryan. I come from a small town in Northern California called Vacaville, so I am an out-of-state student. I'm like right between Sacramento and San Francisco, that kind of area. I'm also currently living in one of our second year housing opportunities for our students. So if you guys have questions about those, I'm more than happy to answer those as well.
Fantastic. To kind of kick off the Q&A, Ryan, as an in-state student, Why did, there are a lot of great universities in Colorado, and maybe you were considering universities in state and out of state, but why did you choose Colorado School of Mines?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think one of the things that kind of stuck out to me about Mines, especially when I was just, like broadly touring the campus along with other campuses kind of in the local area, is I really got the feeling that Mines was the smaller school, kind of more personable atmosphere that I was looking for. I will say in Colorado, there's a lot of great engineering schools, but especially a lot of the other schools that are kind of closer and local to us here are a lot larger in scale. And I felt like I wouldn't get that more kind of one-on-one personable kind of feeling that I was looking for with the campus. So that really pushed Mines over the top for me. I was also looking out of state as well, but even compared to out of state universities, I have to say, I think the biggest push of Mines was, again, just that kind of great intersection between good community, but also great academics as well.
Awesome, Zach. What about you as an out-of-state student? What drew you to coming to from California to Mines?
Yeah, so one of the big driving reasons for me is I love being outdoors. So I'm really big into skiing, mountain biking, hiking, things along those lines. And really, there's no better state in the US that I could imagine going to college to for all of those outdoor activities other than Colorado. On top of that, though, I really valued hands-on experiences when I was making my college decision. I did a robotics program in high school called FRC, so I really enjoyed working with my hands. And here we just have tremendous maker spaces that I could go use in my free time, but also so much of our coursework has integrated these spaces into, creating different projects for our students to get that hands-on experience that you wouldn't necessarily find at many other colleges.
Awesome. Well, in addition to Ryan and Zach, we also have a third awesome campus, a campus staple, a campus celebrity on our webinar today. And so I'm excited to welcome as Dr. Paul C. Johnson to our webinar. As the 17th president of Colorado School of Mines, Dr. Johnson brings a really cool blend of innovation and academic leadership to Mines. He's a chemical engineer by trade and also has served as dean of faculty at other major engineering colleges. Since being here at Mines and in Golden, Dr. Johnson has led us in steering the university toward high impact hands-on learning opportunities. And he is deeply committed to the mission of Mines of empowering the next generation of STEM leaders to solve the world's complex problems. And I am pretty sure he is one of the, if not the only university president where you get one day a year you can soak him in water and there is no retribution for dousing the university president in water. So I do want to welcome to our AMA webinar tonight, Dr. Paul C. Johnson. How are you doing tonight, sir?
Good. Thank you, Luke, for that introduction. And actually, I've gotten pied in the face on other days too, and that's without retribution. That's certainly been well for good, raising good things. And Zach, Ryan, good to see you both here, and everybody on the Zoom call. Thanks for zooming in. If I could just say for a minute, Luke, for a second, I just wanted to congratulate everybody for just amazing work in school and life to get you to this point. You have to have worked pretty hard, done a lot of cool things to get to where you are. I know that if you've been accepted to Mines, you have a lot of opportunities, a lot of different places. And number one thing is we want to make sure that you go somewhere where you're successful. And for some of you, we hope that's Mines, and we're here to help answer any questions and just let you know how much we would love to have you here in our Oredigger community.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Johnson. So, as I mentioned up the top, this is an awesome opportunity for you to ask questions about from the student perspective about the student experience, as well as anything from Dr. Johnson. Now, there were some questions that were pre-submitted from our attendees this evening, and so I'm going to kick off this first question to Dr. Johnson. People are kind of curious. They are starting at Mines potentially this fall. What is the vision for the future of Mines that these students could take advantage of during their time here on our campus?
Yeah, well, it's a great time to join Mines. I mean, Zach and Ryan could tell you that probably even better, more convincingly than I could. But we've spent the last 10 years sort of building Mines to be a really very special place that emphasizes a lot of hands-on opportunities, Really, that the education that you get is complemented by all of the things that you can do outside the classroom and that you're engaged with. Really building a very special community. Really, students who have high aspirations for what they're going to go and do in life after Minds. But we've launched a lot of cool programs. So the students who start this fall can be the first ones if they're interested in this topic in the Quantum Systems Engineering undergraduate program. We've launched, let's see, business engineering, management sciences programs previous to this, ceramic engineering. We can go down the list. There's quite a few sort of new programs. We always launch programs that industry comes to us and asks us to do. So, for example, construction engineering is another example of a pretty recent program we just started this year. The industry came to us and said, we can't find enough good people. We know we get really good people from mines. Can you create a program for that? So academically, great opportunities, lots of different choices. And then if you look at the facilities here at Mines, Labria Innovation Hub, the Beck Venture Center, the athletic complex, you name it, it's all there to support. And then there's the support here as well. I think what I really love about Mines is it's a great place that you will be challenged, but you'll be supported at the same time. And on top of that, we've added a lot of professional development opportunities. So fantastic career center, fantastic Viejo Urban professional development program here, lots of various scholars, communities, and then we have built it all around a residential opportunity here at campus. So if you join in the fall, you would be the second group to come to Mines to live on campus for all of their first 2 years with some pretty good opportunities to actually live here in third and the fourth year as well. So anyway, I'll sort of stop there, but I'll just say we've built Minds for this point in time to really provide an education an experience you can't find at other places.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Zach or Ryan, do you have any examples or any things you want to talk about how Minds has grown and growing as a school during your time as a student?
Or maybe things that you're involved with outside of,
Yeah,
I think that the thing that people don't always see is that like you can go to any university and check off a list of classes and get a degree. But
absolutely.
but here you're going to spend time doing that, but you're probably going to have a lot of interest in things outside in those professional societies, competition teams, whatever they are that you're engaged with. You're going to get leadership experience, communication experience. You're going to build a network. So curious, Zach and Ryan, maybe some of the things that you do besides the coursework.
Yeah, well, I can start off with this. I think whenever I kind of talk about my greatest experience here at Mines, at least in terms of developing myself, has been getting involved with on-campus research opportunities outside of my regular classes. So I've been involved with a research lab for about 2 years now, where I'm actually working directly with a professor on kind of his projects that he's leading, again, outside of all my classes. That's really helped me get some hands-on experience which, like Zach mentioned earlier, is one of the best things about Minds overall. But it's also really set me up for grad school, which I'm going into straight after this. That's kind of your opportunity to really get that real world experience, even though you're still here on campus. So I've absolutely loved that opportunity. In terms of just like the campus evolving, I see all sorts of new like majors and programs opening up all the time, which is super exciting to see. I think, even though we're called the Colorado School of Mines, anything related to mines, or sorry, anything related to STEM doesn't have to just be mining engineering. So many wonderful programs are here.
Zach, you want to talk about your involvement and what you do outside of the classroom?
Yeah, 100%. So I am not involved in any undergraduate research at the time, but my main focus here has been trying to, explore the local area, but also joining a ton of different clubs. That's been one of the biggest things that I've been pushing for, towards pushing towards throughout the duration of my time here on campus, was just, getting involved as much as I could. So I'm in clubs like AIAA, is a professional society. It's for students interested in aeronautics and astronautics. So they do like networking events with these big companies, Blue Origin, Lockheed Martin, anything in the aerospace sector, which is a place that I want to work later on. But also, I've been, fortunate enough to get involved in miscellaneous things like the pickleball club, the Nine Square Club, just random things that I never really thought I would get as involved in. I've also been fortunate enough to make a club here on campus as well, which has been a really great experience for me. I'm interested in becoming a pilot beyond graduation, so I made a club for students that are interested in becoming pilots. We're still pretty early on. We've only been on campus for about a semester and a half or so at this point, but it's still been great for me to, develop this new community with other students here on campus that have similar interests to me. And that's not something that, necessarily I'd be able to find anywhere else.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome to hear. I guess, Zach, you touched on something that I think people are often curious about, and I think all of you could provide really cool examples is making Golden home and making Colorado home. So do you want to talk about some of the best things to do locally, and then what did you do to, familiarize yourself with the town of Golden?
Yeah, so a big thing for me is just get out and walk around. Golden is relatively small compared to many other, college towns or just towns in general. So it's really nice to be able to get really anywhere I want to on foot. If I am looking to expand beyond Golden as well, we have access to the Ore Cart, which is like our free little transit to get around the Golden local area. But all of our mine students also get a free RTD pass. So it's not uncommon to, catch me and my buddies on the RTD going down into downtown Denver for a weekend to catch a Rockies game, an Abs game, something along those lines. So it's really given me an opportunity to just get out and explore, in the suburban way a little bit. But also, like I mentioned when I introduced myself, I just like being outdoors, and we just have some tremendous hiking around the local area. South Table is really popular amongst our students. Similarly, with like Clear Creek Canyon, there's tons of ways to just get out and explore, and that's really the big thing is obviously during our winter months, we usually have some colder days, some snow, some things along those lines. But when it's 70 degrees and sunny out here, there's really no other thing to do than go out and walk around, explore a little bit.
Ryan or President Johnson, any other tips about making Golden home?
I think Zach did a great job talking about it. It's the nice thing is it's a great town, number one. I came here from out of state, and first you have to acclimate a little bit to the lower percentage of oxygen in the air. But once you do that, then I mean we are right at the base of the Rocky Mountains. There's a trail that you can climb about probably I don't know, 1,500 feet, 2,000 feet up into the mountains, just right off campus. You can take lower ones there. There's Clear Creek, as was mentioned. If you like to run, hike, bike, it's just heaven here for those types of things. The nice thing about Golden is it's kind of shielded by the Table Mountains, but 15 minutes away is downtown Denver, so you can get there if you want to. You can get to the airport. You can get to skiing. If you want to get an engineering degree and go skiing, there's no better place than Colorado School of Mines. So we got that. But I was curious, Zach and Ryan, when you bump into people like off the mines campus close by, and you say you're a mine student, what's the reaction? What do you most frequently hear?
Mine's is recognized. Yeah, I gotta say that. I mean, first of all, I'll say just like in the local area, Golden loves mine students, which is so cool. If you tell someone down like kind of in downtown Golden that you're from mines, they'll absolutely talk to you about say what you're up to, like how your degree is going. There's also a lot of great student discounts and stuff in town, things like that. But the reason I say mines is so well known is because I will also mention kind of moving outside of Golden, occasionally when I mention to friends or like family out of state that I'm going to the Colorado School of Mines, they'll go, "Whoa, I've heard of that school before. Like, that's awesome." I think for such a small school, we really make quite a ripple, and people absolutely have a lot of respect and also just a lot of appreciation for kind of the caliber of school this is.
Zach, do you have any insight about that when you tell people about mines that you're a student?
Yeah, so I don't have like anything really super crazy beyond what Ryan added to that. But I will say Mines alum just pop up anywhere and everywhere. Like my dad, he's an airline pilot. He flies for United and he'll be talking to his first officer that he's flying with. And they'll be like, "Oh yeah, my aunt went to the, or like my sister-in-law went to the Colorado School of Mines," things like that. So our alumni network just keeps growing and growing, and they kind of touch, every corner of the world, every industry that you can imagine. And so even with these people recognizing the school and being like, "Wow, you must be really smart. You go to the Colorado School of Mines." It's also just a great networking opportunity for our students as well.
I would say there's a lot of pride in our alumni. I mean, whenever I wear like a Mines jacket at the airport when I'm going on like a trip for the admissions office, I get go Orediggers probably every time. And it could be a 7 a.m. flight. It could be 3:30 in the afternoon. It does not matter. Our alumni are super proud and they want to make sure there's the pride of the Orediggers for sure. President Johnson, there was actually a question posed by one of our attendees for you, and I'm kind of it should I think it could be a really interesting question and answer. The question is, what are your thoughts on how AI is going to impact the engineering field, and what is Colorado School of Mines doing to prepare students for this development of AI in engineering?
Great question. The simple answer to the first part of the question, it's going to impact it hugely, right? I don't think there's any doubt about, it's driven by engineers. It's going to impact the life of engineers. It's going to support it. So what are we doing? We have a number of things going on. I'll sort of back up big picture. What I think about is what are the things that we want our graduates to be good at that are going to be extremely valuable in the future where AI becomes even more and more bigger part of our lives. So they're preparing our students to continue to have high value in that environment is what I think about all the time. A number of things that we have going on that are sort of AI related. So one is we want to make sure all of our students are AI proficient in the context of the disciplines that they're studying, because it's sort of different from discipline to discipline how AI is being sort of brought into that area. We want them to have that. We want our faculty to be proficient in using AI to enhance the educational opportunities that are here at school. So we've got initiatives going on in that space. We've got faculty who are involved in AI and machine learning and all those kinds of things as part of their research initiatives. And I would say every industry that we are connected to, from the aerospace industry, the energy industries, the quantum industry, you name it, that is the conversation right now. And the nice thing is we're so well connected to industries that we know where they are going with AI. And so that helps us to make sure that we can make sure that we're in lockstep with them going forward. I will say that being AI proficient is good, knowing what's good in your area is good, but knowing the things that are very valuable that complement being in an AI world is I mentioned I think about that a lot. So I'll give you a few examples. We talk a lot about ideas to reality here. I want every student to have experiences to go from, taking something that they dream up as a solution to something or just something they creatively come up with and have the opportunity to take that all the way to the point where you actually, like you make that, you operate it, you whatever. That is something that is going to be very valuable in the AI world. That AI is going to help you to come up with better solutions to things, but that ability to go from an idea to a thing is what is going to be really, really valuable going forward in the future. Professional skill sets are going to be incredibly valuable. Communications kinds of things are going to be very, very valuable going forward in the future. So we're making sure that our students are not only proficient in AI, but that they have those skill sets that are going to be becoming even more valuable in an AI world. So we talk about it every day.
That's awesome. Thank you. Do Zach or Ryan, do you have any examples of how your professors, faculty, or work here at Mines has been talking about AI or integrating AI in any sort of way?
Yeah, I actually have a great example because just yesterday I was at a vision statement for a new department head for our department. So basically, there's a lot of kind of changes in upper leadership of chemistry, but with a new leader coming in, they're very excited and they gave a whole presentation about how they're planning to help bring our department into the future. And obviously, one of the big topics that they focused on was AI. And I think they gave some really encouraging and really professional kind of guidelines of how they want students to become, like our president was saying, AI literate. AI is a reality, it's not going away, but we can definitely learn how to use AI smartly and safely and also become just better students instead of letting it kind of take over our education, or maybe that's not the right words, but to more accurately put it, just become like, more of our education than we want it to be. So I guess just to say that is definitely on a lot of departments' minds. Like PCJ mentioned, it's a little bit different for every department. But I think even a department like chemistry, which is typically less tech-based, taking such an initiative with it is a great sign of how most departments are handling it.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Zach and Ryan, there were a couple questions about finding an on-campus job, and what it took to what you did to find it. Knowing that you actually are paid and being a campus student ambassador is a job on campus. Do you, Zach? Do you want to start talking about how you find on-campus jobs and how'd you find your role as a campus student ambassador?
Yeah, so there's tons of opportunities for on-campus jobs. I mean, I'm a campus student ambassador, which simply put means I'm a tour guide. So out there giving the tours to all of our prospective accepted students. For me, that was something I knew that I wanted to do when I first came here to campus. In case you guys can tell by now, I like talking, and I thought it would be even better to get paid to talk. But it's something that's really, really fun, and I'm passionate about the school. I like to go out and share all the information and my stories about it. We have a online program or like a application that you'll get set up with when you first come here to campus, where you can actually go through there and see what job openings are available on campus. But there's also a lot of different, departments here on campus that'll go out and send out their own Canvas messages. Like recently, the mechanical engineering department has been looking for TAs. So they'll send out messages about that through the Canvas and just say, if you pass this class with a B or higher and you're interested in becoming a TA, then you should apply and we'll go through and review all these applications. But these job opportunities will also go towards, undergraduate research as well, where there's a few programs you could apply to, but also just by getting to know a professor a little bit, that's an outlet into research. There's our desk assistants and our RAs in our residence halls as well. So our RAs, our resident advisors, they'll get free room and board for their efforts, but they still will be living in the residence halls their second, third, fourth year, whatever year that they do become an RA. But definitely, if you are looking for an on-campus job, my biggest piece of advice would just be go out there, walk around, look at the posters and the flyers that are on campus, look at things that are chalked on the ground. That's funny enough how I found out that the admissions office was hiring was chalk on the ground outside of one of our halls here on campus. So just going out, looking at what's out there, but also that online program as well.
Yeah, I think Zach gave a great answer. Just one more thing I want to mention, because I think it's super cool, is we actually have an on-campus employment fair where all sorts of different, things around campus that are looking for student workers will represent themselves right in one spot. That wasn't quite how I found the student ambassador job, but that was kind of actually how I first heard about it in a sense. So that's just a good thing there to also give a quick mention too.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Zach, I'm gonna go back to you on this one, and then Ryan, I'd like your perspective as well. A couple questions about like developing relationships with faculty, like getting to know the professors at Mines, their accessibility, and then potentially just developing a relationship as you grow as a student.
Yeah, 100%. If my like big thing, another driving reason why I came here is just how small, our faculty to student ratio is. I am in the biggest department here on campus, but I still get to know my professors really, really well. The big thing is, they're going to be offering their office hours throughout the week. Go to their office hours, go talk to them a little bit. Their office hours aren't limited to needing, exam help, homework help, anything like that. If you want to just go talk to your professor, get to know them a little bit, ask about, their career in industry, anything along those lines, you're always more than welcome to go drop by their office hours. A lot of my professors have also tried to get to know us students on a first name basis as well. So that kind of helps develop that familiarity you're getting with them. I played basketball with my differential equations professor one time. So it's like these random events that are going on around campus. You'll see them around, Obviously, you'll be in the classroom with them. You'll be learning, taking notes, listening to their lectures, things along those lines. But they're still people like everyone else. And so, again, you can always go to their office hours. If for some reason theirs don't work with you, they're always more than happy to figure out another time as well, whether it's, immediately after class, maybe before class starts, meeting online, anything like that. Just communicate with them and, they'll reciprocate that to you as well.
Awesome. Uh, President Johnson, we have another big picture question for you. There have been a couple questions about In the news today, there's a lot of conversation about universities on tight budgets, federal funding being pulled or changed due to prerogatives of the administration. So some folks are kind of curious about how Mines is handling these uncertain times about budget and funding from the various sources and how we're positioning ourselves to be in the strongest place possible.
Yeah, great question. And yeah, everything you just said is very real. I'd say the whole higher education industry is dealing with that. Most universities are having a big problem with it, I would say. Um, we're actually doing a lot better than most universities. I'll sort of say that, and maybe to sort of validate for that for you a little bit. If you think about, okay, separate from the headlines about universities not being very doing very well under the current federal environment, if you think about like what are the topics that you hear most frequently about in the press, right? It's energy, it's critical minerals, it's quantum engineering, quantum systems, quantum computing, AI. And there is only one school in the universe that is good at all of those things, and it's here. So we are actually in a time period where probably Mines is, I think, one of the best positioned universities in the country for the current state of affairs for higher education because of the importance of what we do. The other thing is people are really looking for universities that deliver return on in value, return on investment for students' investment in their education. We're always in the top five-ish of those in the country on that particular topic. They're looking for delivering an education that is challenging, produces a graduate that's going to have a lot of career opportunities. That's what we focus on. So if you look at all the things that want higher education to do, which is focus on the education, focus on things that are important, focus on producing graduates with degrees that have value. That's what we do. And so we're sort of sailing along pretty good in the current environment because of that. It's really easy to explain what we do. It's very easy to explain what our expertise, what its relevance is. It's as Zach and Ryan have mentioned, there is a brand identity to a Minds degree and a network out there that recognizes that. So we do good. We also, I would say, the other thing, the federal money is shifting around a bit, so it may not go directly to universities. A lot of it's going to industry. So universities that are very industry connected also are going to do better in this environment, and that's us. That's been us for 152 years. So we are just moving forward with our mission, moving forward with what we've always done, and I think that's a pretty good recipe for us being successful.
Thank you. And speaking of industry connections, I've heard you at accepted student visit days talk about what industry partners say make Minds alums strong candidates for jobs. Do you mind talking a little bit about that, about what industry is realizing that our students are prepared to do once they graduate?
Sure. And it's so I every time we have a career fair or I bump into people from industry or whatever, I always ask them, why are you here? Why do you keep coming back? Why have you been come back for years? And the answers are very, very consistent. They will always say, you have incredibly bright students. Now you can find bright students at other schools too, so that's not the only thing. You have very bright students. They'll say you have very hardworking students. That's something you don't find everywhere. They'll say that you have students who know how to respond to failure and can move on from that, which I think we all get humbled a little bit from time to time. I don't know if Zach and Ryan would nod their heads on that one, but but it is part of the learning process, right? And and they will say that your students work better in teams than any people we can hire from other similarly selective, high quality institutions. Because at those other schools, the students mostly go through competing with each other. And at Mines, it's not because I don't think it's really, I mean, Zach and Ryan could probably tell you this, but the workload here and all the other factors together sort of put you in a position where to make your way successfully through the university, you have to work with other people. you don't necessarily have to be forced into that in a classroom setting and all that kind of stuff, but you do tend to develop friends that you work with here. And that skill set is something you can't find a lot of different places. I have also heard many industry CEOs say, when we have a tough problem in our company, we put the minds people on it. So the other thing is we really have a reputation of producing graduates who know how to figure things out, because I suspect Zach and Ryan would tell you that they've had classes where they learn some things in the classroom, and then the homework problem is you've got to figure out a lot more of it on your own, maybe. And that is just part of what life is really like as an engineer. And so you experience all of that here. We like to produce industry ready engineers and graduates, and we like to produce people who also can go off and start their own companies if they want to. So
That's
I don't know,
awesome.
Zach and Ryan, if you want to, sort of comment. I mean, you've probably, heard people say what it is that they think is valuable about you and your credential that you're earning here at Mines.
Yeah, well, I can definitely start. I think one of the things that gets most recognized about mines, especially, I can mostly speak for a chemistry degree, but I feel like this is definitely applicable for a lot of other degrees as well, is kind of like President was saying, is that there's not just the focus on learning material, there's kind of that extra focus here at mines with how do you actually take that and apply it to real world problems that a lot of people admire because there's a lot of great things that you can kind of learn in a classroom setting if you're just, studying from a textbook, things like that. But that can be a little bit different from a real world kind of actual engineering setting where you have a problem and you don't have a clear answer in front of you, or at least there isn't a clear answer that you can work through just by solving a few calculations. You need to actually brainstorm ideas, try a few things out, and things are going to fail. I think one of the best things Minds has taught me, and this is going to sound a little scary at first, but just bear with me, is that Minds really has taught me in some ways how to fail. Not necessarily how to fail classes or anything like that, just how to come up with an idea and have it not work out exactly how you expect it to. That's okay. That's a reality sometimes, especially in an engineering or kind of science related field. You might run into that, but it's also really taught me as a university how to bounce back from that, keep trying new ideas, keep making implementations or changes, things like that, and eventually you reach a good solution.
Zach, do you have any other insight you'd like to provide?
No, I don't really feel like I have much more to add on to what Ryan had already said.
Awesome. Well, I got a fun question for all three of you. There's been a couple of questions about what's your favorite tradition? Like, what's your favorite thing that Mines does tradition wise? Because there's a lot of unique traditions that Mines has, and folks want to know. So I'll start with President Johnson.
That one's pretty easy. I mean, we have a lot of cool traditions, and so we just wrapped up E-Days, which is an awesome tradition. And there's lots of subcomponents of tradition in there. But for me, if I could only pick one, it would be the M climb. It would be that thing that I end up totally soaked at the end of. But the start of a school year, walking from campus 3 miles up a mountain to a big M up there, carrying a rock, getting greeted by student organizations and upper class students, singing the fight song together, getting up there, sitting up on the M, knowing that you're doing something that people have been doing for over 100 years. It feels like an accomplishment when you get up there. You look down, you can see the campus where you're going to spend the next few years learning things, and it's just it's there's a feeling associated with it. Um, Most of the students don't get as wet as I do. I'll just, in case everybody's wondering if this is just like a thing where students get wet. No, it's the if the president's coming by, he gets wet, and that shields most of the students, I think. But but anyway, that's one of my favorite things is just that sort of start of the school year. We're all in this together, and you end up in a beautiful spot at the top of the hill when you're done.
And correct me if I'm wrong, you've done it every year since you've been the president, right?
I have done it every year since I've been the president. Yes.
So how many M climbs have you successfully completed?
So I have I'm just wrapping up my 11th year. So got 11 under the belt. One of them was a little different because it was the COVID year, um, but the other 10 were the what next year's class will experience.
That's awesome. Ryan, what's your favorite?
I actually am a big fan of something we have on campus every semester called Tunes and Trucks. It's, I think, just like one day out of the semester where all sorts of food trucks are laid out outside Brown Hall. That's one of our buildings here on campus, and all sorts of on-campus bands are performing. One of the reasons I will say I love that is maybe I just have a lot of musical friends, but pretty much every time I go, I actually see someone I know performing live, which is so cool. I have really cool musical friends here. But also, that's just like a great community day. You'll see a lot of people, because usually it occurs in the nicer weather months of the school year. You'll see a lot of people outside just kind of enjoying the sun, eating some food, listening to music. Great community on those days. I absolutely love it.
The mechanical engineering faculty will love you for saying that, Ryan. It's they dreamed it up, and it's yeah, it's one of my favorite ones to go to as well. We could get to see our students and our faculty just doing what they want to do for little slots of time.
And Zach, how about yourself?
Yeah, so I'll take mine off the Mines campus a little bit actually, and it's Camp Oredigger as a whole. You only experience it one time as a incoming student, but I'm really glad that it was required when I first came here as an incoming first year student. But more specifically, the last day or the last morning before you leave Camp Oredigger, they'll do a sunrise hike at about 4 in the morning. It's a little bit more challenging than the M climb hike that'll happen the next couple of days or so after you finish that, but that sense of community that you build with people that you get up at 4 a.m. to go hiking with up in Estes Park is not, something that you'll find really anywhere. So it is a little bit of a kind of more off the beaten path tradition, so to say. It's still a little bit newer out of all of them, but by far that's the my favorite thing I've ever done here on the Mines campus, or
And if
I guess
I
off
yeah,
campus.
Zach, that's a great. If I could add to that a little bit, so anybody who's joining us next fall, we'll be at the 10th anniversary Oredigger camp. So it's going to have some special components to it to celebrate the 10th anniversary of that happening. And it's another great community building opportunity. And lots of us go up. I do that every year too, Luke. So another fun thing. Luke, what's your favorite?
One of my favorite traditions is probably that a lot of our helmet sports, like football, baseball, softball, they wear the sticker of their major on the back of their helmet. So that way, when the opposing quarterback gets sacked, he said, I got taken out by a chemical engineer. Or when they hit that home run and the pitcher watches do that home run trot, it's a nice reminder of who they're playing. So I like how we don't hide who we are. And we like to or pleasantly remind people of the awesome students here at Mines, because it's unique to have such like strong athletic programs with such a niche academic offering. So that's probably my favorite tradition here at Mines. Zach, I'm actually going to ask you the question that you're typing right now because I think it's actually a good question for everybody. And that is, what's your advice for incoming freshmen coming from out of state to finding their people? It's a big transition whether you're coming from a state that borders Colorado or from across the country. Just what is your best advice to folks to making this place their home, and anything that any insight you could give on that topic?
Yeah, 100%. So what I was typing out that I'll just say out loud now is for me, the big two ways that I start to get to know people and made my friends was leaving my door open in my residence hall was the biggest one. I lived in Spruce Hall last year, in my unbiased opinion, the best residence hall here on campus. And I just left my door open all the time, whenever I was in my room, as long as my roommates were fine with it, maybe they were out of the room, they were out studying, anything like that. As long as we all agreed to leave the door open, that was one of the best ways that I just connected with people on my floor and just people in the building in general. I'd walk down the hallway to go use the bathroom or something, and someone would have their door popped open. So I just, pop in, talk to them for a little bit, see how their day's going, see what classes they're in, what major, things along those lines. And that was one of the key moments for me. Like I said, I'm living in one of our second year apartments right now. I'm living with two guys that I met on my floor last year and one other guy that I lived with last year. So, it worked pretty well. I'm really good buddies with all of them now. My other big kind of piece of advice to you would be join clubs. You join a club that you're interested in, you're just immediately going to meet people that have similar interests to you. So for me, I've talked about a little bit, really big into aviation. I wanted to get involved in aviation in any way or form that I could here on the campus. So I joined a couple of clubs. I joined a few other clubs that, you know, I showed up for a few meetings, wasn't exactly what I was looking for. Don't go to those anymore, but that's not a big deal. When you join a club, it's not like you're signing a contract saying, I'm going to be here at every meeting for the next 4 years here on campus. You can try out different things. There's no harm, no foul. And even if you show up for a few days, or decide that that's kind of not your groove, anything like that, again, you can always leave, try out other things. But again, kind of just to reiterate all of that, leave your door open, talk to the people on your floor, and join a bunch of clubs, especially if you're an out-of-state student.
And Luke, it might be worthwhile for anybody who's sort of nervous about that, just to know that you're not going to be the only one sort of nervous about that, because almost half of our incoming class comes from out of state. So um, many of you are sort of in the same state of nervousness when we first start up. But I can tell you, by the time you go through Oredigger camp, you already have a network of probably at least 15 friends just from that activity. From living on your residence hall floor, you expand the network even further. You join a club or organization, and pretty soon you're up to, like, 50 people in the first 5 weeks of being on campus.
Exactly. This isn't a place that goes quiet on the weekends to where you're an out-of-state student feeling isolated, because that's not what the campus is. There's always activities going on, events going on. You heard all three of our panelists talk about just being in Golden, right? Is it going down to Woody's and going, getting some all-you-can-eat pizza and then going down to Clear Creek and tube down Clear Creek, like, or is it going to go catch, an Avs game, a Nuggets game, or Rockies, or anything along those lines? This is such a vibrant place that whether you're coming from Conifer, like Ryan, which is about 25 minutes from campus, or you're coming from California, which is a 2.5 hour flight, or even for our international students that are coming from around the globe, you're going to find that a lot of our students are really trying to get a great community for sure. Ryan, I got a question for you, and that is, how does Minds help with like work-life balance, or mental health and physical health for students? Because it is known to be rigorous, and we are very open about that, and we want our students to be open about that. But just how does Mind support students and to make sure that you do find that balance and you do get great academics as well as that great college experience as well?
Yeah, that's a great question, Luke. And before I get into specifics, I will broadly say this because this is actually something I feel very passionate about. When I've been here at Mines, yes, I've had rigorous courses, things like that, but I always want to be very clear that there has never been a single point throughout Mines where I feel like I can't live my life being a student, you know? I always have that time to take time for me on top of doing things outside of campus, things like that. Now, kind of getting into specifics, I will say, I've balanced two jobs the last like 4 semesters or so, while also taking full semesters of classes, things like that. And it can get busy, but one of the things I will mention is that, again, kind of having this smaller campus atmosphere where you can really get to know your professors, things like that, that's very helpful. My professors personally understand that I am a student also going through life at the same time as going through classes, and they're always willing to help me if I'm in a tough spot, work with me on due dates, assignments, things like that. I can also just say broadly that something nice about Minds is, especially with our on-campus, say like research opportunities or on-campus like positions, like I'm working now for the student ambassadors, things like that. They're always very accommodating and understanding of student schedules. So, if you're having like a very full semester with classes, you'll always have with like on-campus positions kind of that more flexibility to maybe move around your schedule, take a little less from work, things like that. And then a final thing I'll mention is, I know they've mentioned this a few times, but Golden is such a beautiful outdoorsy area. I have to give a mention to the fact that every time I get stressed, I just go for a nice little nature walk by the creek. And that is such a kind of unique thing we have being in just such a beautiful area here.
Fantastic. Um, President Johnson, there's been a couple questions about like entrepreneurship opportunities, or opportunities or examples of students maybe starting businesses. I was just kind of curious if you had any examples of folks, of students taking kind of or making some great entrepreneurial success while on our campus?
Sure. Well, we since we've talked about clubs so much, we actually have an entrepreneurial student club. I think it's called the Evolve Club. They have space in our Beck Venture Center. And so I have actually known a number of students who started companies while they're at Mines and continued them after leaving Mines. We've got one in the biotech space going on right now. We've got sort of other kinds of things, but we have this whole sort of support network for people who are very interested in doing that. We have a McNeil Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation, which works specifically with students and with faculty who want to embed entrepreneurship and innovation opportunities in their classes to support them. Their headquarters is in the Labriola Innovation Hub, which is one of the largest maker spaces you can find on any college campus in the United States. So you have any kind of idea, you can go down and use that for that. It doesn't have to be for class or anything else. The Labriola Innovation Hub has a prototype fund. So if you have like I want to make something, I think it's up to $500 or something. I know a student who's in this year's freshman class. I met with him at the end of the fall semester in his prototype, and he was building something like a acoustical wave interference quantum material separator device of some kind or another, and he's got his whole path mapped out for creating a company while he's here at Mines. We have another student who just graduated last year. She's developed basically a propulsion device for outer space that uses plasma instead of fuel, so you don't have to take fuel up there. And she's in the middle of raising $2 million for starting her company right now for that. So it's a great place if you think that you're entrepreneurial inclined, even if you think you're not, you may discover that the stuff that you like to do. So if Ryan gets really excited about his research and he's like, "Hey, I discovered something that I think I never thought I was entrepreneurial before, but I'd really love to see this thing become something." You can do that. And so some of the students sort of become entrepreneurial in the context of their cornerstone project or their capstone project or something that was just a passion project for them. So really, I think more opportunities here to do that naturally than probably anywhere else in the country.
That is awesome. Now, we are quickly approaching the top of the hour, and I do want to be respectful to everyone's time. So I'm going to pose a question to the panelists, and then I'm going to give you some time to think about it as I kind of do some wrapping up. My question that I'll ask you all in a second is, what's your biggest piece of advice on deciding if Mines is the school for them or picking your university? So I'm going to give you some time to think on that. But I do just want to say thank you once again for logging on and joining us today. I know that as seniors in high school that you have a lot going on, that it is a whirlwind. Proms are happening, final lunches off campus or celebrations. And we hope you've given some time to really enjoy your senior year and that you've had some time to celebrate your successes. But now it is the time to pick your university. And I hope that you have seen throughout your entire college search process that Mines, it's kind of like the Avengers of STEM, where we're trying to find, where we're students that like a community that's trying to save the world and help the world through the lens of engineering and applied science. And I really just appreciate Ryan and Zach and President Johnson for taking some time out of their Wednesday evening to hang out with us, answer some of the questions. And so, yeah, to kind of wrap up today. Don't forget, May 1st is the day that you do have to pick your university. That is next Friday, no pressure. All of that information can be found in your applicant portal. That was the very first portal you created when you applied to us, and that's where you eventually got your admissions decision. And so there in the applicant portal, there's something called the enrollment decision form. And that is where you let us know that you're ready to lock in your spot as an Oredigger and to pay your enrollment deposit. If you do have any questions, the admissions office at admissions@mines.edu. Once again, admissions@mines.edu. We're always available. We have a great team. You've probably emailed with a bunch of us, but we're excited to help you in this college decision process as you make this big, awesome decision for you. But I am going to go to our panelists to kind of wrap it up. So Ryan, what is your biggest piece of advice you'd give to students and families as they decide their college and maybe start at Mines?
Yeah, I think honestly, when I was picking a college, one of the hardest things I ran into was actually kind of figuring out my own priorities in terms of what it was I actually wanted. When you're first starting out, it's hard to decide at first if you want a larger university where you are going to meet more people, or if you want that smaller university where you're going to get the more personable, hands-on feel, if you want a more tech or like scientific focused campus, if you want a more like open and broad campus, things like that. Obviously, at the end of the day, that's all going to come down to you and kind of figuring out your priorities. While there's so much I could say about eventually making my decision, I'll be honest, when I finally chose mines, in the moment, it was kind of a gut decision, and it really was kind of the best gut decision I've ever made. It's really just taking that leap of faith and choosing a campus for you that feels right. If something in you doesn't feel right about it, trust that part of yourself because it understands. But alternatively, if something's telling you it's a great fit, it's going to be a great fit.
How about you, Zach? Any advice you give?
Yeah, so I'm 100% biased towards mines and trying to push people to come here. But my big thing is what I've learned is college is a weird time of your life. You're here on campus, you have responsibilities, you have a level of independence, but you don't have a job that you need to go wake up for every day and go work for 8 hours, whatever it is that you're interested in doing. You have your responsibilities, you have your classes. But my big thing is go where you're going to be happy. There's a lot of institutions across the US, across the world that have really great, educational opportunities for all of their students involved. But there's not quite a university like ours where you're going to have all these opportunities, but also have the opportunities to get outside and do the things that you want to do. Some people want to go to college where they're more in a city central area where maybe like New York, LA, maybe like downtown Denver is kind of more of your calling. But so many students here on our campus have this like-minded for being outdoors and anything like that. And talking to my buddies back home, we all kind of went separate ways with our collegiate careers. But really, like I said, the big thing is just go where you think you're going to be happy. That's going to give you the best to succeed in your academics, to succeed beyond graduation, and really get involved on your campus.
And President Johnson, any advice from you?
Wow, well, I would listen to Zach and Ryan before I listen to me, but because they've been through this a lot sooner. I will say, my experience with talking to people, figure out whether you're a big school or small school person first. You will know that inherently. Most people apply to mines. We're very analytical. We try to build spreadsheets to try to answer the question for us and tell us where things are. And Ryan said he's struggled with priorities and things like that. I do think it's a big school, small school thing. I do think it's very much where can you see yourself being successful for the next 4 years and enjoying being around the people that are there. You get a feeling for that when you visit it. When if you get Zach or Ryan as your tour guides or whatever, you just kind of know, right? It is a gut feel kind of thing. There are some specific things. I mean, if you want to do quantum systems engineering, there's only one place in the country right now to do that. It's mines, right? If you want to go to the school that has the number one mining engineering program in the universe, there's only one school where you can do that at. So there are some specific things if you're very, sort of interested in a certain major, a certain career path. Um, but at the end of the day, sort of think about what you want your college experience to be like. Find the place that matches you. As I set out when I started, anybody who gets accepted to mines could probably go any place that they want to go. The world needs you to get a good education somewhere and to go off and get done with school and do wonderful things in the world. And I'm more interested in you finding the right place than necessarily twisting your arm to come to mines. But I will say it's a very special place here. I love getting up in the morning and walking across campus, and the joy of me. I can tell you, the kids are 10 times smarter than I am. And if you ever feel bad about the world, spend 10 minutes with a mine student, and the future is going to look way, way better. So this is a place where you can bump into people where you're like, okay, I can see how I can make a difference.
That is awesome. Well, thank you all so much for joining us this evening. Thank you so much to our colleagues from the admissions office that were kind of behind the scenes answering questions. Congrats. And then thanks to Brian and Zach for doing both questions live as well as behind the scenes. Ryan, congrats on your impending graduation. And we're excited for your grad school pursuits. But once again, thank you all so much for joining us today. We'll be in touch and go Ore Diggers. Good night, everybody.